Alright everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. I'm Captain Beefy and we're going to talk about Spitfire Interactive today and their new game Capes, which has been added to the DEI Detected website after it consulted with Sweet Baby Inc. Ooh, kiss of death. So, let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, so Spitfire Interactive issued a response after its recently released game Capes was added to Carudus Rambo's DEI Detected website after it was revealed it consulted with Sweet Baby Inc. Carudus Rambo announced the game was added to DEI Detected on X. He wrote, "Sup guys, I bring a new Sweet Baby Inc. game for y'all." He then shared a link to DEI Detected, which notes that Sweet Baby Inc. is listed in the game's credits, including the company's co-founder, David Bedard, and one of its main agitators, almost mispronounced that, Chris Kindred. The credits are pulled from YouTuber Christopher Odd's channel, and there we go. Gotta love it. Spitfire Interactive developer Penta addressed the game being added to the DEI Detected website, writing on the game's Steam forums, "We already had 3 months and 14 pages of constructive discussions about DEI in the forum, and delivered a gameplay update focusing on exactly what the player base wanted, leading to roughly an 80% positive recent reviews." He continued, "You don't have to take my word for it, you can actually read up on it yourselves, but we were already able to explain that SBI only worked briefly, mainly to bring in the 4 to 5 people strong indie dev team in contact with fitting voice actors together with the devs over 2 years ago, and many skeptical players were able to find out that there's no hidden agenda or something else that we, quote, forced down your throats or other concerns that they had, besides a well-rounded, diverse cast, obviously." Penta then concluded, "So why don't we just focus on the most important question that the OP was mentioning already? Is Capes fun? And this is exactly why I brought up the positive reactions towards our most recent update. We think you would enjoy it if you give it a chance." He sounds awful defensive there, and, you know, whatever reason you brought him in for, it was a mistake, and it's going to hurt you. And it's going to hurt every studio that does it for a while, until Sweet Baby Inc. is gone. And until you guys stop doing this kind of stuff, because there's a lot of people out there way bigger than me pushing this stuff and getting it out to a lot of ears. I get it out to ears too in the hopes that, you know, my voice added with everybody else's voice becomes a chorus and developers hear us and stop doing this garbage and ruining games. I don't care what you bring them in for. I don't care if you bring them in to figure out a charcuterie board for your team, you know, making it diverse enough to make everybody happy. Don't bring them in. Don't pay them a dime. Don't condone that kind of behavior of that kind of company. Starve them out, and they'll move on and go do some other grift somewhere else. They can all go to hell. But while Penta claims that the most recent reviews are positive, the most helpful reviews in the past 30 days are negative. Shinelight bashed the game and wrote on July 31st, "The tactics aren't fun. The cast is a diversity quota checklist, not actual characters. The game's tone is all over the place. I don't want to play it, and I don't want to watch it for its story either. In both gameplay and story, the game acts like a derivative of a derivative of a derivative. There's no soul here, nothing interesting. It's like a superhero game made by people who hate superheroes." You're probably spot on. They're probably like, "I hate gamers, I hate superheroes, I hate all this crap. Let's just give them some garbage and force them to play it." The game also does a scummy thing of making it look like you have alternate costumes to equip, but trying to equip them instead takes you to the Steam DLC page, to try and charge you $11 for it. That's screwed up. That's mobile game crap. I lost a lot of goodwill for the devs when I saw that. Yeah, that's dirty. That's really dirty. That's a bigger problem than DEI in any way, shape, or form. The missions have BS in them that tactics games shouldn't have, like objectives you don't know until partway through the mission, which would have dictated the whole way you run it. Yeah. They're contrived and they don't feel natural. I was putting up with it until one mission that was too annoying for me to continue playing. Yeah, you figure your briefing before the mission would tell you exactly what you need to do. Why would I can understand minor changes during the mission if something goes wrong, maybe a backup thing or whatever, but something that would fundamentally change how you run that mission, that's crazy. I go on to say, "I stopped at the mission where you kidnapped a streamer girl atop the skyscraper." A streamer girl. He said, "It's an escort mission. To get her to follow you, you have to be ahead of her. You have to run onto this elevator so she can escape. But to do that, You also have to be on the elevator. You also need to escape. Why don't you take the elevator? You've already got at least one character on the elevator to get the NPC escort there. There's no reason. It's just a contrivance to make the mission harder. You instead have to run to a totally different area while enemies spawn infinitely in your path. Also, I heard no music during the missions. All I heard were the canned statements with atrocious accents. Oh, man. He then declared the characters are really bad. They went out of their way to combine multiple, something abnormal about everyone. And this is where Sweet Baby sucks, and this is where you lose me and a lot of other gamers when things are pushed to the extreme. Like, everyone has a thick accent, but they're all different accents. The African tank is supposed to be a lawyer in his last year of law school, but he talks like an idiot. You'd expect someone with multiple years of law school to be able to at least use words to describe what they see or their feelings. As a tank, he has a taunt power, which would also be a great place to include clever insults or good wordplay, and she expects someone with most of a law degree and ostensibly a high verbal IQ to do so, but no, all of his taunts are utterly childish statements. He continued, backstabbing, lesbian rogue. Well, there you go. Naturally backstabs people both in her life and in the game's mechanics. She's rewarded for it. She's obviously the devs' favorite because she's way more fun to use than the other characters. She has both massive mobility and massive damage output. The African tank feels like he barely moves or acts at all. By comparison, crippled Indian telekinetic who gets around the crippled part by just levitating himself everywhere. He plays a pity card about being judged and bullied a lot. By whom? And so doesn't want to judge or bully others. But when you play him, you can hear him getting off on making people weak and then hurting them. He noted, sorry, not sorry, I'm not falling for that. You can hear the voice actor giggle like he's getting sexual pleasure each time he makes people get brain problems and then makes them suffer. You expect me to have any sympathy for this character? None of the other characters mentioned this. Wow. Oh, there's more. He continued, Brazilian-American football player who controls lightning and wind. His ultimate power involves him screaming in pain for a solid 5 to 7 seconds. It's an extremely long animation and scream. What a nightmare that would be, or what a nightmare that would have been to play before the devs introduced a speed up button. Asian speedster, not much to say about her. There are more characters. I'm not going to see them because I don't care to play this game again, he declared. The tone is so inconsistent that he can't get a read on what the game expects. Some people are throwing around swear words in every sentence, and others talk like G-rated comic book goons. The game shows the bad guys shooting people to bloody death, but nobody mentions how your heroes are killing a lot of people too. The evil people are the company and the government, and that's literally what they're called. It couldn't be more bland and lifeless if they tried, he concluded. Shine Light wasn't alone in his opinion. Mizumi also shared, the game is pretty simplistic and basic. The UI is bare bones and lacks detail, both in terms of giving details to the player and in terms of visual fidelity. The audio is by default incredibly low, very weird. I had to bump it up a ton. Not the end of the world. The voice acting is very hit or miss. The writing feels like first or second pass on writing, and it feels like some of it was written by someone in high school or college. I find myself rolling my eyes a lot as people speak. This is a huge problem in this industry, and I don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what it is. I bet you I'll go back to it. Marvel's Midnight Suns. The writing was atrocious in that. The banter between the different characters was just, it was absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. It felt so juvenile. It felt like it was written by a bunch of junior high girls. I mean, it really did. I guarantee if I went and looked at the credits for that, it's probably mainly female writers. It's probably the same with this. Women don't get dialogue like men do. You know, when you're making male characters, we know how we talk. We know what we say to each other. We know how we react and all that. And I think females, they don't get that so much. You know, not all of them at least, and probably not most of them. You know, women are different creatures than men. They do things differently. They talk differently. They communicate in different ways. So they don't quite get it, you know. Guys, we have our way about us. So I think when women try to write men, they try so hard and it just comes off as weird and shallow and it just doesn't make any kind of sense. More bad dialogue recently we saw was in Forspoken. That was a piece of crap game. And just the dialogue between that main character, I can't even remember her name now. She was all over gaming news a year ago. But her and her stupid wristband was some of the worst I've ever seen. It was like dimes, you know, it was like a wish list. What's his name? From Iron Man, you know, the robot. It was like they ordered him off wish list, and that's what he was. It was just terrible. But yeah, Oh, here we go. I have no idea where this game takes place. Accents in the game are all over the place. He noted the main characters each have a completely different accent. The enemies in the game have different accents. The hero, Weathervane, and his father have very different accents, where the father is clearly French, and I can't figure out what the voice actor for Weathervane is trying to do. It's distracting. A Chinese character with a New Zealand accent, I think. An Indian character, a British accent. One of the villains sounds Scottish or something. Some of the people sound like they're from New York. One of the heroes has a very generic American accent, like American with no regional affection, like neutral American, like a newscaster. One of those heroes is Nigerian. It's hard to tell what's going on with these people. And there aren't nearly enough character models. This is mostly an issue in cutscenes where you will see multiple of the exact same character, same outfit, same colors on the clothing, same weapons in hand, exact same character, stamped over and over in a given scene. It sure would have been nice if there was some kind of variation. Even just tints on clothing would add a lot. Have 3 of the same model in the cutscene, give one a yellow tint, another green, another gets black tint, whatever. Just try to avoid people wearing street clothes where lots of people bought the exact same t-shirt and pants in the exact same colors. In other games, characters have uniforms and an intentional unified look. Here it's just people in street clothes, so you really should expect to see variation. Or they should have just used uniforms and made the enemies seem less like random street thugs. Literally wear a t-shirt and jeans holding a pipe for a weapon. Game's been out for 2 months. From what I can see online, it looks like they've sold about 9,000 copies. 41 active players is the max number. Wow, the active players in the last 24 hours, according to SteamDB. Not 25k or so. Just 41. I'm 5 hours into the game. The achievements I'm getting are like 28 to 44% of Steam users. So 9,000 copies sold. 41 players playing at peak. And less than half the people who own the game have completed Act 1 yet. Oof. And that's 4 to 5 hours of gameplay. That's bad. It concludes, the gameplay feels shallow. It makes me miss Freedom Force from 20 years ago. I absolutely love tactical RPG games, and I'm a big sucker for the superhero genre of games. This game should be an absolute slam dunk for me. I think for $5 to $10 it's a perfectly fine buy. I got it on sale for $29, and I feel like I overpaid. I'm not giving up on it, but it's taking effort for me to want to turn it back on and play the next mission. That's what happened with Midnight Suns with me. You know, the dialogue was so bad that I gave up. I was like, I can't sit through another day of listening to these clowns talk to each other. You know, even though I love the missions and I had a lot of fun with the missions, it was everything else sucked. Well, here's a Steam chart. And this is over. It came out in May, and it just dropped. I mean, it dropped like a rock. So 3 months ago, 664. And then it was, my God. Yeah, it dropped pretty quick. And it's just 22 players right now, 28 in a 24-hour peak. Whew. What do you think of this? I mean, you know, I get it. DEI isn't the only thing that destroyed this game, but I'm sure it hurt. And it's definitely going to hurt it going forward. No one's, you know, even if they do try to fix this game a little bit, no one's going to want to play it, you know. Not if they're playing with 28 players right now. And to be honest, you know, maybe they wasted their money on those actors. Maybe they wasted their money on Sweet Baby Inc. there. And they could have done something else with that money. That money they gave to Sweet Baby Inc. to find a bunch of horrible actors. Maybe they could have just put a casting call out and got a bunch of maybe semi-decent actors together. Maybe they would have all had similar accents because they all came from the same region or whatever, but that's fine. You know, when you force all this diversity, it gets stupid. It really doesn't. It just feels weird. Especially, like you said, the one guy was French and then his son was British or whatever. I mean, come on, guys. You can do better than that. Anyway, tell me what you think of this game. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. If you haven't done so, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications. I'll see you next time. Until then, peace.